All right, so you've crafted your why we exist story. This is where you talk about your origin story, what you stand for, what you believe in, and you're connecting with the psychology of your buyer. Good job. You've worked on it a lot. You've refined the words, you've changed the word choices, you've removed certain sections, you've added certain sections. It flows well. Wonderful. But you've ended up with 5 paragraphs worth of content. And now we run into another dilemma because I've been emphasizing that the most important page on the entire website is your product page. So, do you take this why we exist story and put it in your product description? That if we do that, that actually might increase the length of the description by a lot because the why we exist story isn't even a description about the product. It's about the selling people on your brand. Once we're done with that, we have to sell them on the product. So if this story itself is 5 paragraphs long and the product description, let's say 2 paragraphs long, that's 7 paragraphs worth of content. That seems ridiculous, and it absolutely is. And I'm going to show you a very simple and clever way of solving this. So let's look at Dyson, my favorite brand. So let's say that Dyson wants to sell buyers on their why we exist story. They already have a fully functional product page. This product page has videos, it has layout, it has all these different assurances, it has this review section, it has all these components that you get. And there's really no room here for me to inject the why we exist story. So how do we solve this? So what we do is this. What I like to do is over here, and this is obviously going to change from brand to brand. In the case of Dyson, they have an opening over here. I would put a question box and I would say, have you ever bought a Dyson product before? And there'll be 2 buttons, yes and no. Now if people say yes, then we say great, we can say something, anything we want. However, if people say no, we could then ask them, let us tell you before you are ready to buy, let us tell you a little bit about us. So when you click on it, we can show a full screen light box where we can explain that 5 paragraphs worth of content that you crafted that shows up in that light box. But wait, there's more. Now, this is probably going to be ignored because people have short attention spans. So you actually repeat it conditionally. So you would ask the same question over here. And then over here, you would just maybe add a button that says our story. And then you would repeat that same thing over here. So what you're doing is at multiple locations across the page, you are adding these little buttons, all of which lead to the same lightbox content. And in that lightbox content, you are selling them on your why we exist story. And I know what you're thinking. You're saying, Rishi, you're adding all these redundant buttons on my product page. It makes my product page look so ugly, and it's so annoying for the buyer to see the same thing content over and over again. And this is where I will tell you about this great idea of a choreographed experience. So how it works is if people click on that first dialog box right at the top of the page that we talked about, then all the other instances of that button are hidden from the page. So they actually don't see it again. If they ignore it, which they probably might because shoppers have low attention spans, they see the second instance. If they click on that, then the third and the fourth instance are hidden. So what we're doing by this is we are maximizing the visibility of this very, very important core asset. Remember, you cannot make a sale unless you've helped the crosser cross that unfamiliarity barrier. And you cannot cross that unfamiliarity barrier without the help of the why we exist story. So it is meaningless to sell them on what your product does and what the features are and how much horsepower it has and how many reviews you have if the buyer is even sold on you as a brand. So we have to sell them on you as an idea first. And the benefit of this approach is that it maximizes visibility, but it minimizes the annoyance factor, right? Because nobody wants to, if you've clicked on a button, you don't want to see that button repeated again and again. So I hope this helps.